Hi, this is my review of Garadon's Pass. Garadon's Pass is an adventure for the Mystic Forces 2nd edition role-playing game. This is the perfect starting adventure for the players to journey forth into the world of Oreathar and to find out more about their destiny as Shinkai, warriors capable of wielding the power of the Mystic Forces. And just a small warning, this review is going to contain spoilers, so keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. The document is fully bookmarked, so it's going to be quite easy to navigate the entire PDF, making your way through the different events. The graphic design and layout looks excellent. You have these awesome looking illustrations, and I especially like it that many of the illustrations, they feel like you are looking at the world of Oreathar through your character's eyes. That is, they have a first person perspective to them. Everything is well written and explained and organized. However, I did find a few typos, but they aren't a big deal. So overall the quality is great. Now let's talk about the contents. In this adventure, the characters start in the town of Kegblast. You have two very powerful hooks to get the characters involved into the action. The first hook is that one of the characters is supposed to be a longtime friend of this elderly warloom. Now, some of you may remember the warloom from the core rulebook, that they are this very sturdy, tough, very strong race with a thick, knotty or bumpy skin. And he is about to die, but he has a dying wish. He was in love with this lady warloom, and he never confessed his love to her. It was sort of like an unfulfilled love. So he gives a token of his affection to one of the characters so that the character can deliver it to that lady warloom. So that's one powerful hook. It has to do with love and feelings. But the other hook is that the characters are feeling like the call of the Shinkai. They have that sense of being sort of like chosen by the mystic forces. So they have to go and meet the defenders to see if they are actually Shinkai, and perhaps they will join the organization of the defenders, which is probably the most important organization in the world of Oreathar. It fights the corruption that is always a threat to the Elabrian realm. So the characters, after role-playing their encounters in the village and preparing for the trip, they will start to make their way southwards to Fort Blazingstone, the most important fort of the defenders. As you can see, there are many things about this adventure that make it feel quite epic, like your characters are the focal point of something quite grandiose that is just beginning. As your characters make their way through the land, they will notice that there are many different events, that some are skippable, some others are unavoidable if they decide to follow those specific hooks. But I really like it that it kind of feels like the events are unlocked as the characters make their way through the entire story. Another thing that I really like is that the way the events unfold, you don't feel punished for skipping these events. Rather, there is an incentive to go through all of those events through advancement points and character points that are rewarded for interacting with the different creatures and non-player characters, with the environment and such. So for example, the first event, the characters will bump into a very nasty creature, which is an acid mug. So acid mugs are one of those minions of the corruption. This is basically a very ugly creature. It has like a body covered in sores. When the creature first spots the characters, it's going to try to run away. And the characters here, they have a choice. They could chase this nasty, corrupted creature, because that's part of being a Shinkai. You have to fight the corruption, but they could actually avoid this. They could consider that this is somewhat of a risk proposition, and again, it's all up to the characters. If they actually decide to chase this creature down into its hideout, they will find this a bit of a miniature cavern complex with different rooms and areas, and I like it that some of the areas in this underground maze of swords, um, they do not have something too evident or an immediate danger. They are just there to give the characters a sense of being in this world that comes alive. In fact, if you have the alchemy sourcebook for the Mystic Forces role-playing game, I recommend that you add some of those alchemy ingredients. Maybe the characters can harvest some of those there. And there's actually this huge underwater lake. And just take a look at this illustration. It looks really nice. You can see how the torch is being held as if you are actually there, and you can see this giant snake. And if the characters choose to do so, they can fight this giant snake, and they could actually get some meat from it, perhaps use it as travel rations and such. But it's all up to the characters. When the characters actually manage to get up close and personal with the acid mug, I think that it will be a very challenging encounter, because the acid mug basically projects acid mist in all directions. So it's going to be a really tough fight. And the cool thing is that if you manage to clear this entire cave, you could use it as a hideout or as a safe house of sorts in future adventures. So as the characters journey on and on, they will have many of such encounters that will give them rewards or could perhaps present dangers. But because I was telling you that most of them are skippable, that gives the characters choice and a sense of power over their destiny in the world of Oreathar. Later on, they will find this pair of Lormec thieves, and they will decide if they want to stop them or not, because they are actually robbing the house of the Lady Warlum that they are going to visit to deliver that token of love. And this encounter could go in several ways. And these Lormec are actually armed and dangerous and will not hesitate at trying to kill the player characters if they are found out in their while they are stealing the things from this house. And you could even have like a big chase towards their hideout if you wish to. So this is another good thing about this adventure. You can make it as short or as long as you want. This could take from one single session to perhaps 3 or 4, it all depends. So as the characters talk with the people that they find on their way to the Fort Blazing Stone, they will discover that this Lady Warlum is part of a group that carries out Worgonish ceremonies in the mountains. Now, the Worgonish belief system is all about strength, or more specifically, draconic strength. They consider dragons and dragon knights to be divine beings, so they have some very tough and testing ceremonies. The characters could decide to go into the mountains to deliver that this sun crystal shaped like a heart to that Warlum. But they could run into some nasty animals like a Shubra ram, which is basically like a ram but with spiky horns. So they're quite nasty. If it manages to lodge one of its horns, imagine just pulling it out is going to do a lot of damage. And there will also be some corrupt things like the Vrekon, that is basically like a combination of Wolverine and wolf, and it's a corrupt creature. If the characters manage to reach the place of the ceremony, they will have a bit of an encounter with the group, and they will be subjected to a grappling match that is part of the spiritual ceremonies carried out there. And they will have to interact with the leader, which is Parkushan, and they will be rewarded with adventure points and character points when they deliver that token of affection to the Lady Warlum. This is a really nice opportunity to make some allies in that group. Once the characters are done with their business there, they can keep on going to Fort Blazing Stone through Garadon's Pass. And you know that this is a very special and important place. This is the name of the adventure, Garadon's Pass. And this is basically a shortcut that is not easy to spot, because there are walls, and the natural environment kind of like overlaps with the entrance, and there are also illusions protecting the entrance into this pass. But thanks to a fox that seems like radioactively charged, but actually it's been covered with the pulse of mystic forces that goes through that pass, and thanks to a medallion that was given to one of the characters by the original Warlum who wanted to confess his love to the Vorgonish Warlum, they will make their way through the pass. Now the pass is quite tricky. It's been magically treated to the point that it represents a sort of like a loop. If the characters go through certain areas in the pass and they do not step on specific stones on the floor, they will be teleported to the way they came, and it's going to be a bit difficult to notice this unless they start seeing that the walls and the places they have gone through look a bit familiar. So this is a very tricky pass, and they will not be able to go through it unless they find this room that is also quite nice. It feels like a piece of history in the world of Oreathar. It's basically a room where the Moaja, which was a council of 10 powerful Shinkai, had their meetings on how to fight the corruption during the War of Betrayal, or perhaps before that. And so you can get the sense that this place has been deserted for a long time. It feels really cool, like you are exploring deeper into the history of the setting of the mystic forces. It is here that they will find this, I guess you could call it a machine or an artifact, that will give them some clues as to how to get through this Garadon's Pass without being teleported to the beginning. And the thing is that you have these different colored stones, and you have some cones in this room that you can set up on different colors, and you have to step on the stones matching the colors where the cones have been placed. So that's the only way to get through this pass. There's also a possibility that there will be combat with a very violent beetle. It's actually a giant horn beetle, if I'm not mistaken. Giant horn beetle, yes, this is the one. So they could bump into this giant horn beetle, and there's also a place where there are like magical flames, and the only way to get through them safely is to drink water from a special pool, and that way the characters could go relatively unharmed through the entire pass. I like that this pass feels like it's there just to show you that the world of Oreathar is alive and it exists in its fictional state. It feels independent from what the characters will do, and so they get to experience this historical place within the setting. There is also this very interesting place where there is this sword hanging from the ceiling, as you can see from the cover, and this sword it kind of homes in to the closest character, kind of threatens the character as if it's going to shoot at that character right away. But it's actually just a way to deter the characters from going further. There is really not much danger besides the other things that they will encounter in the pass. Once they get back on track, they will have a very perhaps you could say sad encounter with what the corruption can bring upon the world of Oreathar. You will see this Grak that is calling out for his father. His father is actually a Shinkai as well, but he was corrupted, and he is now Korgathul, which is like an evil Shinkai. I guess you could say he's kind of like a Sith Lord on the Star Wars films. And the characters have the opportunity to either kill or capture this Korgathul, but it's going to be quite difficult to capture him because he is quite powerful and quite insane. He's basically left his son there abandoned because he's chasing down a deer, basically hunting down a deer, tossing fireballs at it. So when they find this Korgathul, he looks really insane. He actually he hurt his hands while clawing and gnashing at different bushes with thorns and such. He's out of control, and the characters are in for a very nasty fight. If the characters manage to go through that event, they could also find additional events as they keep journeying on. There is actually a particularly nasty storm, so they will have to find some way to take shelter from high winds, rain, lightning, hail, etc. So you get a better sense of the dangers that you will experience in the journey, not just through battle, but through weather and the environment as well. Once the characters actually reach Fort Blazing Stone, it looks really nice because it's built of this black stone with streaks of red, and they will find Shinkai ready to receive the members of the Defenders. They will immediately be tested, and yes, effectively the player characters are Shinkai, and they can further progress as Dragon Knights or as Enchanters, and they will be given an opportunity to become part of the Defenders. You have a lot of details concerning the Fort Blazing Stone, information on the population, on the lieutenants and captains there, so it's going to serve as an adventure hub. And the last part of the adventure is all about whether or not the characters accept to belong to be a part of the Defenders, and they will also focus on their training, as they will get many rewards for the different events and completion of this adventure. And it's basically a chance for the characters to become stronger and specialize in different areas of combat and other types of expertise. Now let me tell you what I think of Garadon's Pass. This is a masterful adventure. This is the best way to begin your journey into the realm of Elavria. There are so many good things about this adventure. Let me see if I can pinpoint the best ones. Well, first of all, the hooks. Instead of giving you a lot of hooks to get into the adventure, they give you two very powerful hooks that have a lot to do with the character's destiny as Shinkai. For example, maybe your characters are a lot into helping others. They could feel the hook of trying to heal this unfulfilled love of the dying warlord, trying to carry out his dying wish. They will find that hook quite attractive or engaging. But if your characters are more on the side of trying to gain greater power to fight the corruption, they will find the possibility of training as Shinkai and becoming Defenders quite attractive. And the way all of those events that I was telling you unfold throughout the entire adventure just feels really nice. You get a very strong sense of the players choosing what they want to do in the world of Oreathar. They do not feel like passive observers. They feel like actual heroes, and that they have a greater destiny. I think that's the theme of this starting adventure. There is this great destiny or fate awaiting the player characters, and they have to investigate the potential of their powers and how they will fight the corruption, or perhaps go through some other types of adventures, because there is a possibility that they will not join the Defenders, but they will still receive training as Shinkai. So this adventure could be handled in different ways. And the illustrations, as I was telling you, they look really nice. It's like you are actually there. And there is actually so many things right about this adventure. And the aspect that you actually get rewarded for interacting with the world, not just about combat, but about exploring all of those areas and getting in touch with the historical significance of Oreathar, makes this a wonderful adventure. So I highly recommend that you get this one. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to review the following adventure that is a Destiny with Evil, I think it was called. Well, I'm going to review it in a couple of weeks. So I hope you will watch that video as well. So definitely get Garadon's Pass. Thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.